It's just a bad organization.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Onion pickles, onions pickles.
Live and local.
Look, it's impressive.
On ESPN.
Northwest Florida.
What's going on, Northwest Florida? You are now riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, and you're tuned in to ESPN Northwest Florida 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. I'm David Hayes, along with Coach Brian Haddad and the Bone Crusher. Again, the Afternoon Underdogs, thank you for joining the Doghouse this afternoon. Lots to get into today. We had the NFL divisional round of the NFL playoffs. We had a lot of local scores, a lot of things going on in the local world. But of course, I mean, what's bigger than Jason Kelsey supporting his brother there?
Well, not much bigger than his gut.
Hey, well, or as his daughters pointed out, his boobies. That was great last night watching that game. It was really cool, just see when they'd pan over to the press box, and yeah, you get the Taylor Swift showing and all that stuff, but then you get the entertainment factor of it as well. With Jason Kelsey, and I still don't get all the outrage. Like, every time that they show Taylor Swift, someone has to get on Twitter like, why are you showing her? Like, why not, dude? If you had anything, like, if any famous person is going to get shown, why is Taylor Swift not going to get shown? It doesn't bother me at all.
Remember,
how about you?
You know what it's like? There's no such thing as negative ratings in and of themselves. If you're watching, and that's the metric. For social media, it's engagement. Engagement is engagement. So every time you pop onto a comment board or Twitter or something to say, I hate Taylor Swift, it's engagement caused by Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Which is what advertisers want. So you're feeding the beast you're complaining about. So
yeah, that's a good point there. Also had the opportunity to check out the Gulf Coast Commodores this weekend. I didn't get there early enough to check out the women's. They did come away with a big win, 83-55, taking on Chipola. Was there for the men's game, got there right at tip, and the whole time I had my AirPod in or whatever. I was listening right here to ESPN Northwest Florida to the Ravens and the Texans, and then about halfway through the fourth quarter was able to turn that off because that game was out of hand, but a great game. Such a fun environment over there at Gulf Coast. They did lose. The final score there was Chipola 76, Gulf Coast 72, but it was a very fun and entertaining game. They were down by about 20 points with 5 minutes left in the second half and just came all the way back with some great defense, a great press ran there, creating turnovers as well, and just came up a little bit short, but definitely a lot of fun. Next week, they're going to be right there at the house at 4 p.m. So I think I'm going to get over there and check that game out as well. It was a great time. Again, the women come away with the win, 83-55, and the men fall to Chipola 76-72. Elsewhere in JUCO basketball, it was Pensacola all over Tallahassee, 87-45. And in men's JUCO basketball, Tallahassee took down Pensacola 79-67 over the weekend. In girls high school basketball, Monroe beat Arnold 51-38. Rutherford beat Ribault 56-43. That sounds like a tool company like Ryobi and Cobalt made a little mixture there. North Bay Haven took down Bozeman by 10 points, 40-30. In boys high school basketball, it was Bozeman over North Bay Haven, 66-33. Rutherford all over Fort Walton Beach, winning by 33 points, 83-50. I wonder how many of those 83 were scored by, oh, nope. This is the Rutherford boys team. I was going to give a little shout out to Shakira Edwards there, but she probably had a good amount of those 56 points when they beat Ribault. Rutherford all over Fort Walton Beach, though, 83-50. Rehoboth over Poplar Springs, 62-49. And Mosley ekes out a win over Escambia, 58-57. In girls high school soccer, we've got a draw here between Crestview and Walton, 1-1. North Bay Haven, they are having a great year as well. They shut out Bay 7-0. Niceville over Choctaw 1-0, and South Walton takes down Gulf Breeze 2-1. In boys high school soccer, it was Arnold over Gulf Breeze 3-1, and Bay over South Walton 2-1. Arnold continues their undefeated season. They are now 16-0-1 to this point in the season. Great run for from the Arnold Marlins boys soccer team. Speaking of Arnold, lots of news surrounding the Marlins right now, and this actually started breaking Friday. We got a text from Barrett letting us know that Jason Griffin, who was the head coach over there at Bozeman, is going to be accepting that Arnold job, and I believe as of today that is officially official.
Yep.
Bozeman finished that 23 season with a 12-1 record. That only loss coming in the Final Four in the 1A state semifinals. They broke basically all the records set within their program. Their best season prior to last year's record of 12-1 was 8-3 back in 2012. They were the first Bay County football team to reach the Final Four since 2001. In 6 years with Bozeman, Coach Griffin had a record of 33-31, and his teams reached the playoffs in all 6 of those years. 2018, Michael, and 2020, obviously with the COVID-19, were automatic bids there. He's going to be taking over Arnold. Coach Griffin is. Last year, 0-9. They scored 12 points on the season. Guess how many points were scored against them?
300.
A little low. 476.
Wow.
So closer to 500 than it is 300 there. A record of 4-24 over their last 3 years. Haven't been above 500 since 2014.
Yeah. And look, it's been a rough run, for the Marlins for a while back. I mean, you had the whole situation where they moved on from a coach, brought in Coach Vaughn. That took a little while to get going. Looked like they were starting to turn the corner a little bit. Then Coach Vaughn gets sick. He's retires.
Yep.
He's not. Coach Campbell gets thrust into the job. I thought did a good job of leading young men, but never could get going. And then this year, whether they would have been better or not, you don't lose your starting quarterback and the best player on your team right before the season starts and expect a good year. So, obviously it's a results-oriented business. The results weren't there. Arnold moved on. Coach Campbell moved on. And now they're bringing in Coach Griffin, who, obviously did a wonderful job at Bozeman, but it did take him a little while to build that up. And that's the best way to do it, to give a program lasting success, is to really have some time to get in there and do that. So the question will be, will Coach Griffin be given the time to build what he needs to be able to build in Arnold? Because this will not be fixed overnight.
No, you can't score 12 points and have 476 points scored against you. And that's not lack of effort. If you saw an Arnold game this year, which I saw one of them, but with that, I mean, you knew what was going on right from the beginning. And that's not because the kids, I mean, yes, there was not as much talent on that team, but there wasn't as many bodies on that team as well. I'm not giving them an excuse, but like you said, you've got to give Coach Griffin some time here. In fact, all of these high school, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, we're in a world where you're expected to take 15, 16, 17-year-old kids and have them become what you want them to be in 2 years. That's very hard to do.
There are different kind of jobs, and they differ, from year to year, from program to program. There are jobs to where just the coaching and the talent just aren't meshing, and they're just one move away. There are jobs where you've got a team that's right on the edge, and one or two transfers in makes the difference. And then there are jobs where you have to change the entire culture around the sport of football at the school. I think that's where this one is. Now, that being said, I don't think it was ever as bad, but I think Arnold baseball was in a bit of a rough spot for a while, and then Coach came in, and the last couple of years, Arnold baseball is as good as anybody. Right. And that's saying something in this town. So it can be done. But like I said, this is the big, heavy haul job. And I'm sure Coach Griffin knew that. And like I said, he's got a track record of this. You look at that record. I mean, he was 10-0 in the regular season this year. That means there were some lean early years. But if you stay the course, put in a good plan, hire good coaches around you, which Coach Griff is wonderful at doing, and then, get to work. Everybody on the same page, everybody working for each other, then you can build not only some success on the football field, but build the culture around the sport of football at Arnold High School again.
Yeah, it's a very curious move, just because it seems like you got Bozeman right there where you want them, but you could make the argument that the talent pool is going to be a little bit deeper when it comes to what you can get over there at Arnold. Is that? Yeah.
No, I think that's the case. Now, to be fair, with school of choice now, you can kind of get around that a little bit.
Right.
Now, that being said, I love Bozeman's campus.
Yes.
It's one of the coolest campuses
It
at a
really
school
is.
I've ever been. It is wonderful. I would have loved to gone there. Not everybody can get out there every morning.
Mm-hmm.
So even with school of choice, you're not going to have everybody be able to go from, let's say, the west end of Panama City Beach up to Bozeman every day.
Right.
That's a hike. And so, yeah, you would think that the ceiling is higher at a school like Arnold. But that being said, it's not as stark a difference as maybe it would have been 20 years ago.
Any nominees for the Bozeman job? I got one off the top of my head.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm blanking on his name now, but he was Arnold's head coach before Vaughn, and he was on the staff with Coach Griff, and I'm really embarrassed that I'm blanking on his name right now, but he seems like to me he would be one who'd be great because he has head coaching experience. He's been at that program for several years, unless he just left this year and I'm missing it. But I'm blanking on his name, and I'm sorry. Maybe you know who I'm thinking of.
You know who I would like to see who would take over the Bozeman job?
Who's that?
Coach Desmond Brown, who was at Bozeman before. I believe he was with Vernon last year, and is really one of those picks. He coached me in football. That's the only reason that I don't know where he is in his career, but I believe he's still coaching football. I believe it was with Vernon this year, and I believe he has. I know he has ties to Bozeman, so that would be interesting. They do say that they're going to name their successor by the 31st of
After
January.
meeting him, I'd love I was thinking about it in Arnold or Bozeman, wherever. I'd love to get Willie Spears in this area.
Wow.
That would be phenomenal. 'Cause
Wow.
I met that guy, and after 15 minutes of talking with him on the air, I wanted to go play football for him.
Inspirational.
He's phenomenal and has a great track record as a coach. But why don't we we've got a coach right here. Why don't we just send Coach Hale up there?
Oh, see, I was going to go with Coach Manley. I was going to say, what would it take to lure
why don't we
Coach
send
Manley?
them both up there?
Package deal representing ESPN Northwest Florida. You heard it here. No, we better stop before Coach Manley's phone starts blowing up. He's like, hey, heard you're taking the job over there at
There you
Bozeman.
go.
We will keep you guys updated on that. That story broke and it is on WMBB, pinned up there by Sam Granville. The North Bay Haven boys and girls wrestling team, they won the county championship for the second year. County results are North Bay Haven in first place with a score of 167.5. Did you get to hear any about how the George Mulligan tournament went down?
I didn't, other than North Bay Haven came out on top. That was unfortunately, all I was able to kind of catch up with.
Mosley finished in second with 142. Bay in third with 108.5. Arnold in fourth with 108 even. Bozeman comes in fifth with 100 points. And then Rutherford rounding out the top six with 47. Also, that story on WMBB brought to you by Kaylee Tinglestead.
Josh Wright was who I was thinking of earlier.
All right. And if you guys have any nominations there or any candidates that you think would be a good fit for the Bozeman Bucks football program, you can text or call us at 850-215-6290. We've got Travis on the line. What do you got for us, Travis?
You know, the funny thing that you said, y'all said Coach Manley and Coach Hale at Bozeman. If I'm not mistaken, and I'm almost 100% that Coach Manley did coach at Bozeman for a little bit.
He did. He was up there for a few years and speaks very fondly of his time up there. Really, really enjoyed it. And several years back when the Coach Hale show used to do the Friday morning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you remember those, David,
I
the
do.
Friday morning, like, game day pep rallies.
Yeah, because I'd had to be there at
Bozeman
5.
went all out and, like, had a sign for Coach Manley. And, like, they made it as close to college game day as ever. So, but, no, Travis, you're right. He did spend a few years up at Bozeman.
That's how I actually know who he was. I actually had his class when I want to say a freshman or a sophomore. I was in his class.
Well, you were talking about on the Inside Drive today, you were talking about the ugliest players in the NFL. How about you tell me on a scale of 1 to 10 how good of a teacher Coach Manley was?
Man, I was so I don't remember nothing.
Okay, well, the correct answer was 10 there, buddy. But
Yeah, right.
there you have. Where in the world hasn't Coach Manley coached at, man? That's good stuff. Who would you like to see become the Bozeman coach next, Travis, as someone who graduated from Bozeman?
You know, honestly, I don't know very many high school coaches. I mean, other than, you know, the two in the morning, Hale and Coach Manley. But I honestly don't even know. I don't. I'm starting to get back into high school football. I mean, back then when I was in high school, I went to every game because I was in the band in there. Now, wishing I was on the field, but that was my mistake. Not that it was bad or anything. Just I would have liked to have played football if I was as interested in it then as I am now. I would have been out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Travis, we are going to go ahead and run to the other phone line. Thanks so much for the call, my friend.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
Absolutely. You take care, bud. Ryan says Josh Wright, and I think it's who you were thinking of. Awesome selection, by the way. He says, sure hope he gets it if he wants it.
Yeah.
We're not saying we're just talking about candidates.
He does also do the track and field at Bozeman as well, but he's just somebody who, I remember his time at Arnold. It didn't end the way he wanted there, but very good football coach. Coach Griff spoke glowingly about him all through the years. He'd be a familiar face to the players out there, so I just thought that would be an excellent suggestion.
Matt, you're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. Who do you think would be a good candidate for the Bozeman Bucks football team?
Yeah, just a buddy of mine. I think would be a great fit. Actually, coached there. Was the D coordinator under Lauren Tillman. I guess maybe 8 years ago or so. But Aaron York.
Oh, is that Coach York's son?
Louisiana now, Natchitoches, but he's taken the team at St. Mary's, I believe is the name of his program. The last 3 years, they've made it into the quarters or semifinals of their playoffs.
Ooh.
He's done a great job over there.
All right, I like that one. Josh Wright, Aaron York. Hey, let me ask you, Matt, what class is Peyton Gay? Do you know that?
I'm sorry?
Do you know what class Peyton Gay is? Like, do you know if he's a junior or senior?
He's an underclassman, and, you know, he has a brother.
Gotcha.
There's two of them.
Yeah, Max Preps is acting wonky on my computer right now, so...
I want to say that Peyton is a senior. Will be a senior, a junior or a senior.
All right. Well, yeah,
Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the next year goes for the Bozeman Bucks, especially on the heels of a 12-1 season, an appearance in the Final Four, a great season for Bozeman. But do you have any feelings on, Coach Griffin's exit? What are your thoughts on Coach heading over to Arnold?
And I understand it. For Griff, I know that would be a much shorter drive for him, and I totally understand the move. You as a coach, you have that competitive drive in you, and you want to see if you can do it at a higher level.
I love it. Hey, thanks so much for the call, Matt.
Yeah, thank you guys. Take care.
Yep, you as well. So Peyton is a senior, so that means that was his final year there. I like that answer there from Matt, because this is one of those things where as much it's Alabama fans are kind of going through it where it's like, oh, Saban's gone, but and Saban had to make the best decision for his life and his family's life at that point in time, right? Miss Terry had to make a very strong decision on what Nick Saban's future is going to be. And so I appreciate the grace that the Bozeman faithful are coming in. I'm sure there's some negative comments out there somewhere, but for the most part, from what I've heard, is we wish Coach success on his next endeavor, and thanks for what he brought to the squad.
So just a brief story related to that. When I was I started coaching in Mobile, my hometown.
Gotcha.
The first time I had the opportunity to go, and I had a wonderful job offer in Nashville's top 10 team in the country. It was a big deal. And I remember it was very hard because I had built up a group that I loved, and we were just on the precipice of really, finalizing some things. But this opportunity was there, and I was basically trying to talk myself out of it. And I remember speaking with a lady who hired me, who I trust, completely, and I said, if I can just get through this next group. And she stopped me. And this is someone who had a vested interest in me staying. And she said, Brian, there's always going to be the next group. Mm-hmm. And she goes, you need to just lay everything out. And if this is right for you, then it's right for you, and we'll be fine. And that ended up happening. I went on to Nashville, and she was right. I got a great job, and the team was fine because we had built a solid foundation. I think that's probably the same here. If you're Coach Griffin, you're looking at it, you're like, golly, if I can just get this next group through, there's always the next group.
Yeah, the job never stops.
When it's there and, it's a good opportunity for you, you take it and you trust that the foundations you built will hold for the next person coming in.
Couple more pieces dealing with local, but we will dive into that when we return. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. Give us a call or text 850-215-6290.
Start your morning with sports updates, interviews, reactions, lively discussions, insights, and expert analysis.
I think in our lifetime, we will never see another undefeated team.
Join Evan, Canty, and Michelle weekday mornings from 5 to 7.
It will never happen again.
On the Sports Talk Monster.
If anyone deserves the benefit of the doubt for one last chance, it's Bill Belichick.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Monday's weather. The remainder of the day, there will be a moderate breeze out of the east-southeast, mostly clouds and 62. Light sprinkles and clouds tonight, about the same at 55. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy in the morning, followed by moderate rain and a high of 65. About the same at 69 Wednesday, and we'll have moderate rain most of the day, except mostly clouds in the afternoon and evening. This forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
360-degree protection of your home, 365 days a year, one low monthly price.
Brock Lawn and Pest Control offers an affordable program that provides our customers with peace of mind. Brock 365.
We like bundling pest control with termite protection for a low monthly payment. We couldn't be happier with the results. Most treatments are done outside, and we haven't had any issues in over 3 years.
Call us today for your free consultation.
Brock Lawn and Pest Control.
Signworks, a business serving businesses since 1985. Everything from signs and banners, vehicles and boats, magnetic and real estate signs, contractor signs, and much more. Signworks can do large format, full color printing too. Signworks, a real professional in the business world. Call Signworks at 785-8899. Signworks, 850-785-8899. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
This 53-man roster is stupid.
Where it's halftime all the time.
Raise the rosters, you cheapskate owners, and get that done now.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
$5 a pop. It's cheaper than Uber. You can send that to my Venmo.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back. You're back inside of the doghouse. This is the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes, along with Coach Brian Haddad and the Bone Crusher. You can call or text us at 850-215-6290 if you need a topic to talk about. How about you tell me who you think should be the next Bozeman Bucks head football coach? Who should be the next ball coach for the football squad for the Bozeman Bucks? Text or call us 850-215-6290.
I know someone who's available.
Who you got? Coach Saban?
What's his name? Bill Belichick. Yeah, he's available.
There you go. The Belichick Bucks, man.
Bill Belichick, Bozeman Bucks.
There you go, man. I think it all works out. You just have to come up with a few more bucks and not the same type right there. Very interesting to see what move, though, that Bozeman makes here. And, I think this could end up being huge for Arnold to get Coach Griff over there like you said, if he gets his staff in place, the players will come and he will get those guys playing a great brand of football. Also, this last Saturday over there at Gulf Coast State College, they honored the ultimate fan this weekend during the Lady Commodores Conference home opener, and it was Miss Jane, who's known as the team mom or team grandmother over there at Gulf Coast. She's been attending basketball games for 50 years. During halftime of the women's game, they honored Miss Jane's family and reflected on her impact. That is on WMBB, brought to you by Kaylee Tinglestead. And then also Bluntstown, we talk about RJ Yeager and Lucas Dunn. Bluntstown baseball's team, they hosted their annual Small Ballers baseball camp, and that was for anyone who's between the ages of 8 to 14 years old, and it was headlined by RJ Yeager, who's from Mosley, St. Louis Cardinals minor leaguer now, Lucas Dunn, who's an alumni of Arnold, and San Diego's Padres minor leaguer Bryson Horn, who's from Bluntstown, who played there at Bluntstown, and a minor leaguer for our Atlanta Braves. That's on WJHG, brought to you by Braden Malloy. Big weekend in the NFL in the divisional round. We got it started with the Houston Texans and the Baltimore Ravens in the first half. Looked like it was going to be a battle. Looked like C.J. Stroud and Lamar Jackson were just going to kind of duke it out, and whichever defense was going to step up first was going to maybe make the play of the game. But then the second half came. Lamar Jackson running everywhere on him, had, 11 carries for 100 yards, 2 touchdowns to go along with that. Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson, first time getting it done in the divisional round, his first win as a quarterback in the divisional round, and they will be hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. Did you have any takeaways from that Ravens-Texans game? No, I mean, it kind of fell the way you would expect. The Ravens, the Texans came out, like a young team would, fired up, ready to go. But when the Ravens didn't blink, you could kind of see the Ravens are a team that is a little more ready for the moment than the Texans. Yeah. Which is not a detriment to the Texans. I mean, this is a team that was drafting second in the draft last year. So I think what they did was phenomenal, but I think you could just kind of see, like I said, the Ravens players were a little more ready for the moment, a little more seasoned, ready for the moment than the Texans. Yep. But you can also see the talent the Texans possess. And if they can keep that core together, and DeMeco Ryans can keep, kind of improving on the job, look out, because this is a team that could be around for a couple of years here and could be a force to be reckoned with. But Baltimore, the only thing I was a little surprised by, I thought the Baltimore would be a little more flat coming off of not only the week off, but they didn't play Lamar in the finale as well. That's 2 weeks. Yeah, I thought he might be a little more flat than he was, but he seemed fairly poised in the moment. So. Yeah, he really did. And you bring up the injuries. We could go on and on about the injuries, but you mentioned the players that they had, the core that they had, and 2 of those core members for the Texans, and Tank Dell, who they lost, 3 weeks ago or so for the season, and then Christian Harris going out, who just grew tremendously under DeMeco Ryans this year. And you mentioned them where they were drafting at. Not only are they drafting C.J. Stroud, but then they jump back up to grab Will Anderson, and they're coming into the draft and into this season with a rookie head coach. Definitely a phenomenal season. Nothing you can take away from those guys. And I think last year, you saw the Tennessee Titans start to take that back seat. The Jacksonville Jaguars look to be heir to the throne. Then they take that step back this year. I mean, this could very well be, depending on the moves that the Indianapolis Colts make, and same way for the Jaguars, but this could be the Texans division moving forward. It could, and that was what I was going to say. It didn't hurt Houston that they're in a terrible division. Yeah. But, it is football, and football can change on a dime. As we've seen now with free agency and everything like that, things can change relatively quickly, and this could end up being, a phenomenal division. I mean, just look how fast the NFC South went from the quarterback division of all time to you don't even know who the quarterbacks are for the most part. So, it can change quickly, but, they absolutely can be the team of the future there, but don't count Jacksonville out yet. That's a team that's still got a good nucleus around it. They were getting pretty decimated by injuries. They need a good backup for Trevor
because he was kind of, taking some knocks and wearing out by the end of the year. So if they can solve a few little things, they're going to be right there as well. Indianapolis is a team that's not far away. We only got to see Anthony Richardson for a little bit. Minshew's probably the best backup in the league, and they're getting better. And then the Titans, they can't get much worse.
They got a new stadium coming. Hey! Woo-wee! Everyone else is working on their rosters. We're tearing our roster down and working on the daggum stadium. C.J. Stroud faced pressure on a career-high 51.4% of his dropbacks. Finished 7 of 17 on pressured attempts for 62 yards and a completion percentage over expected of minus 2.1%. The Ravens' defensive front could really wreak a lot of havoc for the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm looking forward to this matchup. The Ravens defense shut the Houston offense out of the red end zone in both of their games this year. That's the only team to do so even once in the 2023 season.
Yeah, good for that. Look, Baltimore's identity as a organization since they moved from Cleveland has always been on defense. This is not necessarily one of the best defenses they've ever had, but it's a good defense and very opportunistic defense. So, they certainly have, all the tools necessary as evidenced by having the best record in football this year. That being said, they're going up against the ultimate X factor for any defense, and that's Patrick Mahomes.
Especially at this time of the year, and he's already got that road playoff game or road playoff win under his belt now. And man, I cannot wait for the AFC Championship. You can listen to that game right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. The Packers and the San Francisco 49ers. That was the late game Saturday evening. The Niners were 0-31. That's including the playoffs when trailing by 5 or more points entering the final period. I think that the stat that kind of stood out a little bit more to me was the fact that they hadn't let a running back gain 100 or 100-yard rusher in so many games. And even though the Packers lost, Aaron Jones was phenomenal. If it wasn't for Aaron Jones, I don't think that they beat up on the Cowboys the way that they did. You could possibly make the argument that they don't win the game, but it was a 2-touchdown win there, and it looked like a blowout for a long time. But Aaron Jones, absolutely phenomenal. But the 49ers, even though it looked like the Packers were going to hold on to win, the 49ers proved to be a little bit too much. What did you take away from that Pack 49ers game?
It's an easy answer, but once again, I think it's the same thing. I think we saw a young team that wasn't quite ready for the moment yet. And what I mean by that is a little different than Houston. Houston wasn't necessarily ready for a team that they gave their best punch to and they didn't fall down. Green Bay wasn't ready to play with a lead yet. They looked very tentative in that fourth quarter. And, it's a good ball club. It's the youngest ball club in the NFL, Green Bay is. But, so much of what we've talked about with them has been skill position. I was much more impressed with their lines, offense and even defense, toward the end of the season and the playoff run than just about anything. They're a team that with one or two little tweaks is ready to make a real run at the NFC Championship. I think so. I was very impressed with their development through the year because early in the year, we were talking like, see, Jordan Love's a bust.
Right, yeah.
All this stuff.
Now we're saying, how did the Packers continue to do this?
Very sound football team.
Yeah.
Very sound football team. They still got a few things they got to work out. Christian Watson did not have a very good year overall. Yeah. He kind of showed flashes, but Jaden Reed stepped up. Romeo Doubs really developed coming back out of injury. And they've got some good kind of journeymen that they work in there as well. But like I said, the key for me for Green Bay was I was very impressed with the development of both sides of the line for them. I think that was a lot of what shored up what could be done with some of those skill position players.
And it would have been really interesting, again, I'm bringing up the injuries here, but had A.J. Dillon remained to be healthy, I know Aaron Jones was bringing a lot to the table, but when you can change that tempo by having your speedy, and I'm not going to call Aaron Jones a scat back because he's a do-it-all type back, but then you bring in the thunder to that lightning and it changes the tempo of the offense.
Well, and I think a lot of the reason Aaron Jones was as good as he was at the end of the year is because Dillon took a lot of that load earlier in the year. And I think we're seeing that more and more. look, it doesn't sound like much, but that extra game matters.
Yeah.
And, you know, we forget that a lot of times. And these guys, you're seeing teams really fade. You know, injuries, knocks, everything. I mean, look at Jacksonville down the stretch. Look at Miami down the stretch. There are teams that were really struggling. And you know, the teams that are going to be able to, God, I hate even using this phrase, load management, probably matters more in the NFL than it ever will in the NBA.
Right.
And the teams that can successfully navigate that are going to be in very good position once you get into the playoffs. My only other takeaway from the game was...
don't draft Auburn kickers.
No, not that. Guys are going to miss kicks.
I know. I just had if he wasn't from Auburn, I wouldn't have even said nothing about it.
God knows Alabama kickers missed enough for Alabama.
Exactly.
To the point, we got the best one in college football, and I'm still nervous every time he lines up an extra point. But
we'll be missing that next year, that's for sure.
San Francisco does not play well in bad weather.
Mm-hmm.
Now, fortunately for them, they only have... Where's the Super Bowl this year? Indy? I can't even remember where it is.
Daggum. I want to say Vegas.
Okay, so it's going to be indoors. That's good. But either way, it is in Vegas because I was looking up the crazy hotel rates. That's right. So it's going to be in Vegas, indoor, controlled setting. That's good for them. But they looked like a team that struggles with any kind of weather. And it wasn't great weather for the type of offense that they run. I think that affected them. They need to be able to rise above that.
Yeah.
Now they're fortunate they're not in the AFC because if they're going to Baltimore, you're not going to have good weather. I don't care what's going on in January. So that'd be my only worry for the 49ers. Obviously, you got a little bit of a concern on Debo, whether or not he certainly won't be 100%. I think he's going to play. What did they just come out? There's not a fracture?
Not a fracture, but still no timetable on his return or anything. I imagine that's something we'll be monitoring all the way up until 5:30 kickoff, where
and to be fair, when they struggled earlier this year is when they didn't have the full contingent of weapons.
Right.
Whether it was McCaffrey getting a knock, whether it was Debo being out for a couple of weeks, whatever. And there's no rubber stamp here that San Francisco's moving through.
Right, and especially with the destiny that the Lions have had this entire season. But that's such a good point. For the 49ers, not only is Debo Samuel an incredible player, and you can use him in a myriad of different positions even, but the biggest thing is once he comes out, Brandon Ayuk loses so much value as well, because it's not just Debo Samuel the wide receiver, or not just Debo Samuel the wide back, but the wide receiver as well. Then what happens? So now they don't really got to key in on Brandon Ayuk as much, so then all the focus then goes to Christian McCaffrey, which if all the focus is on him, it makes it a little bit easier to keep your eyes or keep tabs on George Kittle. So that's how much it affects the whole entire offense. Like, San Francisco is one of the only offenses in the league where it would behoove them more to lose their quarterback than it would to lose some of their skill pieces.
I have not heard it stated that way, but I think you're 100% right on that.
And I'm not saying anything negative about Brock Purdy. I'm just taking us back to last year.
No, I think you're 100% right, because where the mismatches are created is in having a four-headed monster. Debo can stretch the field from side to side. Christian McCaffrey is one of the best at eluding tackles in the game. George Kittle, in the best of times, is a mismatch, and every bit of energy you have to spend watching those three opens Brandon Ayuk up, who's not a bad player at all, but he needs to be one-on-one to be effective. And every time you've got to cheat a guy into the flats for Debo, or to spy up on McCaffrey, or to watch Kittle on that, seam route, every single time you do that, it frees Brandon Ayuk up to be one-on-one on the edge, and they can just hit you so many different ways.
And Juwan Jennings did have a good evening, making some big-time grabs for the 49ers in the absence of Debo Samuel. How much did Brock Purdy prove with that game-winning drive? A lot during the game, Twitter's kind of going off, see what you're getting out of Brock Purdy. He's Mr. Irrelevant for a reason. Gets the game-winning drive. Of course, it was Christian McCaffrey, bringing it in there, but he did a lot. In my mind, in my opinion, perspective, he did a lot to bring them down the field, especially in the absence of Debo Samuel. What did he prove to you?
He showed a level of confidence that I think put the rest of his team at ease, which I think was important, because, look, his entire role, and I don't mean this at all in a bad way, Get the ball in the hands of your playmakers, period, and don't make a mistake.
Come be quarterback at Alabama type deal.
Jake Coker.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a better Jake Coker.
Yeah.
But don't make a mistake. Get the ball in the hands of the people who make plays. That's what this is for. He doesn't need to Brett Favre crazy throw, Aaron Rodgers, incredible arm talent. He doesn't need to be that guy. He just needs to be a guy who puts the ball in the hands of his playmakers and let them do their thing without holding the ball too long to try and extend a play and get a fumble, or without trying to force, a ball into double coverage and get it intercepted. Brock Purdy just needs to, like I said, play mistake-free football and get the ball into those guys' hands and let them do it. But when you're down, everybody looks to the quarterback, regardless of what their role is. He didn't look phased at all. He didn't look like he was worried, what if we don't score? He just said, all right, let's go.
Yep.
And that was it. And he didn't wow you. He didn't win it by himself. But his confidence, I think, put everyone else in a position where we just got to go do our jobs and we're fine.
That's a great point, and confidence is a key. That is our recap of the Texans and the Ravens and the Packers and the 49ers. Coming up next, we will dive into the other half of the divisional round games, and we'll start it off with the first game from yesterday. The Lions and the Buccaneers. Are the Lions a team of destiny? You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. We'll be right back.
ESPN Northwest Florida presents the most college basketball.
Three-pointer. College basketball is back.
The Panhandle's destination for live play-by-play.
The SEC, ACC, and beyond.
Oh, he saw that coming,
The biggest games play right here.
ESPN Northwest Florida. This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Monday's weather. The remainder of the day, there will be a moderate breeze out of the east-southeast, mostly clouds and 62. Light sprinkles and clouds tonight, about the same at 55. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy in the morning, followed by moderate rain and a high of 65. About the same at 69 Wednesday, and we'll have moderate rain most of the day, except mostly clouds in the afternoon and evening. This forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Visit the newly remodeled Mid-South Lumber Hardware and Feed Store in Youngstown. They have a full line of plumbing, electrical, hardware, and tools for your DIY home projects, as well as lumber and animal feed. Now offering not only baby chicks and a full line of poultry supplies, but also bunnies and parakeets. They also carry a wide selection of Duplin wines and gourmet products, so you don't have to drive to the beach. Come see us at Mid-South Lumber on Highway 231 in Youngstown.
Hey folks, Chris Kramer with Bill Kramer GM. And the best place to listen to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey is inside a brand new vehicle from Bill Kramer GM. And I want you to know we've got 10 times the amount of inventory on the ground as we did this time last year, and darn near all of them are discounted. So shop us online at BillKramerGM.com or visit us the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd. We'll make it easy and take great care of you.
We don't sell the steak.
You can stir this all up.
We sell the sizzle. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
Very spicy.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back. You're back in the doghouse. This is the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes, along with Coach Brian Haddad and the Bone Crusher. We're going to talk a little bit more about the NFL divisional games here, but real quick, Brian, 5:20, you guys are going to be having Todd Mueller in the building with us from PCB Hobby. You guys had a big charity auction for the PCB Tornadoes. Tell me a little bit about that so I don't miss it. No, I won't be listening to that segment because I will literally be on the court at that point in time. So I want to hear about it.
It was phenomenal. So I know you guys talked about it all last week. Todd did, when he was here. But basically they did a charity coin auction where 100% of the proceeds went to, support people down Lower Grand Lagoon who had been affected by the tornadoes and all. And they're partnering with, Todd will know exactly. I don't want to say the wrong one, but a local church to.
Oh, it's North Star.
Thank you. North Star Church.
I read the article today.
Good, because I didn't want to say the wrong one, but partner with them to get all this out into the hands of the people who absolutely need it the most. We were a little bit worried because due to all the snow all through Tennessee and everything like that, not all of the items that were donated were able to make it here by Saturday. And we'll get into more of that in a minute. But they had a wonderful, wonderful run on Saturday. People were so supportive. We had people who had heard it here on ESPN Radio who came into the shop and just donated to the shop. We had plenty of people who were buying coins. A lot of people were just tipping, not even buying anything, just donating, because even that went to the charity. So they ended up eclipsing our overall goal just on Saturday. And there will be another round. I believe it's either going to be Wednesday or Thursday. We'll get into that with Todd later. But where all the other things that were donated will be brought in. So I really think that a lot of good is going to come out of this, and we're going to be able to help a lot of people who desperately need it. Absolutely, and that's for the PCB Tornadoes, the PCB Tornado, PCB Hobby Charity Tornado Auction. That was it was phenomenal, and it was such a good time because they're so good in that environment anyway. I mean, they're so good on the stream. It's entertaining stream. A lot of really cool items. In fact, there may even be some sports-related items that were donated in by one of the listeners to the radio station.
Yeah, champion-type listener.
That's right. So, we're going to get into all that, too, trying to see if that's going to be run at the same time or in a different show. But it was fun. It was a fun, even if you weren't buying anything, it was fun to hang out and chat and be supportive. And, the people in the chat were hyping the items up as well. And, there was one thing where I was telling you before the show came on the air, it reminds me of that thing where you pay it forward in the line at the fast food.
Yeah.
Somebody would win a coin auction and then just donate it back and say, rerun it again. And so there was like a coin that got run like 20-something times, I think.
Yeah.
And it was phenomenal because, instead of $37 going to charity, like $300 went to charity or something. It was just phenomenal. It was a great event. And Kate and the whole crew, Brian and Shell and Todd and the whole crew involved in that, plus all the supporting cast at PCB Hobby that helped make that work, was they did a great job on Saturday, and they'll do a great job going forward this week.
Speaking of that particular fan, I think I'm going to save my NFL playoffs for tomorrow. We'll see what ends up happening in this segment, but that particular fan that we're speaking of had a great day yesterday because not only did his Detroit Lions take down the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but then his Detroit Red Wings doubled up on that, beat the Tampa Bay Lightning in a game of hockey last night.
I hadn't cleared with him whether or not to bring that up. So
that's why. Yeah, I'm not saying his name, just talking about his teams. That's all it is. If you want to, make an assumption, there you go. Absolutely. One of the other big headlines from yesterday that had nothing to do with football. I'm sure that you caught wind of this. How about Ohio State taking down Iowa?
Taken down's a good turn of phrase.
Right. And then the Ohio State faithful stormed the court there, and then a fan is running onto the court at the same time. Caitlin Clark is trying to run off of the court, and there's a little bit of a collision. Yeah. We'll call it a collision.
It was not intentional.
You don't?
I don't. I've seen
way.
it. I don't think so.
Nothing on her behalf. You don't think that was...
No.
Really?
You just look at who it is. No, it wasn't intentional. I don't think so. And also, I've been not only one of the people storming a field, but I've also been working media when it happens.
Okay.
There's very little that is planned in those things.
Fair enough.
It just is. People are out of their minds with excitement or out of their minds with chemicals. One of the two things, but they're out of their minds. There's very little pre-planning that goes on these things. So, no, I don't think so. But it does speak to the larger point, and I'm going to sound like the get off my lawn guy again here. But again, like I said, I've been involved in them, both ends of things. And here's what I can tell you for absolute certainty. If they don't find a way to get a handle on this, somebody is going to be very, very badly hurt. And then you've got lawsuits, and look, it shouldn't matter more that it's Caitlin Clark, but we're talking about someone who's about to break the all-time record for female college basketball points. She's going to do it in about 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. She could have been knocked out for the season and then thus been deprived of this just for, a little exuberance. The other thing I would say, the trolling part of me would say, is we got to stop storming the court for everything.
Yeah. But then, when it's a player of the magnitude of Caitlin Clark, that makes a lot of sense. But wasn't Ohio State ranked pretty high up there?
They were all right. It's a big win to beat Iowa, but that's what I mean. If Chaminade, this is going to be way before your time, so just nod and go along with me.
Yeah, here we go. I'm good at that.
If Chaminade beats Virginia, Ralph Sampson, this was not David versus Goliath. This was like David's 3-year-old stepbrother beating Goliath. That, okay, I get that. Come on.
Yeah.
The rest of this, like you said, if the number 20 team beats the number 2 team, we're not storming the court.
Well, this is 12-5. This is 12-5.
Look,
this would be
Alabama went 4-7, I think, in 1997. Had the goalpost torn down against them 6 times.
Yeah.
Come on, you're beating that team?
Yeah.
Please stop doing this. I can tell you, watching them goalposts snap when they come down, it's a wonder somebody hadn't been killed.
Yeah.
It's a wonder someone hasn't really hurt themselves. The only thing that's really happened up to this point is the funny thing with the girls getting stuck in the bushes, jumping over the hedges there, in Georgia. But the thing about it is I'm afraid it's going to take a massive injury for us to get this under control, and we don't need to wait till that long, because whether it's a fan or whether it's a player or whether it's somebody there working in media or event staff or something like that, somebody's going to be hurt badly.
Yeah, you would like to see all right, 3 minutes till you can get onto you're not even supposed to get on the floor anyway, so that's the whole point. So it's hard to stop something that's not supposed to be taking place in the first place. I would like to see a longer video, just because I don't think that the fan, her being on the floor was where she was at, where she was in the wrong. It's hard for me to see the extension of the arms from Caitlin Clark. And now that could just be reaction. It really could. And I'm not going to sit here and say, I think that Caitlin Clark ran into this girl on purpose. I'm not going to say that. I'm just saying the video of it kind of looks like maybe she could have done that. Yeah. Nothing against her or anything like that. It's just one of those situations where you wish none of this had even happened, but it did.
Look, I told you I've been involved in them on both sides. Right. What I saw both times was cases where people are laser focused on what they're doing.
Right.
And they have zero peripheral vision for whatever reason.
Right.
And somebody comes darting across, you freak, you pull up, you do something different, or somebody just cold cocks you, not even realizing they're going into you because they're laser focused another way. It is, I can't explain it. It's chaos, but the laser focus of it is amazing, because there's so much going on. You kind of tune it all out, and normally you'd have better peripheral senses. For whatever reason, whether it's chemically induced or not, a lot of these people storming the courts and storming the fields are not, and it's dangerous. But weird stuff can happen, and the only people generally who have a sense of what's going on are the players. Mm-hmm. And look, if somebody's coming at you full force and you don't realize they don't see you and it looks to you like they are, you're going to brace and you're going to throw an elbow. Go back and watch when the Yankees, they had to storm the field in the 70s, and Reggie Jackson's running off the field terrified. His own fans are coming on the field. He's terrified, and he is just cold cock punching people to get through and into the locker room.
Yeah.
It's a scary situation like that if you're a player. So, look, if Caitlin Clark threw her arms out, I get it.
Yeah.
Because she probably saw something out of the corner of her eye and said no.
It's not about that as much to me as just like the flop is a little weird at the end of it. I've watched.
Oh, I'm already hearing the takes that she took a dive on the thing like she was trying to draw a foul. I don't think so. The other thing to consider too, if you catch someone at the last second,
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Like your balance.
Yeah, your balance is off.
Your body goes. You just kind of shock, and you could lose balance, and any kind of contact or anything can send you over. It could just be that she's a fan of LeBron James, and
there
she just
you
flops.
go. So, Speaking of, I saw that commercial. I know you guys will talk about that at 5:20, but they've dropped that commercial for Fanatics.
Yeah,
that's
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal, but it's also, I think they did a really good job with that commercial, having LeBron James narrate it, and then they end it with a picture of that card.
Look, the one thing you can never accuse fanatics of is not knowing how to market.
Yeah.
Those guys are absolutely the best. So, good for them.
Yeah, good point there. I'm with you on the Caitlin Clark thing. I obviously, it's one of those things that the more important thing here is how are these colleges going to wade these waters of teams I'm amazed. Rushing the court, rushing the floor, all of that good stuff.
I'm amazed the colleges aren't more proactive about it, because who's getting sued first?
Right.
They are.
Exactly.
I don't know. I understand if there's 100,000 fans at a football stadium.
Yeah.
All right, I get it. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't care how many are coming. You see a few get lit up by a taser, you ain't getting 100,000 running at you anymore.
That's a good point, yeah.
Now, so I'm not advocating people getting tased. Well, most people. There might be a few, Don't
tase me, bro.
LSU fans want to brush whatever. That won't even affect them. But the point is that I get it at football. It's that much tougher. Most of the basketball arenas are going to have anywhere from 4, like in a women's game, 4 to maybe 10,000 people there. Mm-hmm. You're still horribly outnumbered on security, but you have a little better shot at it.
Yeah.
You've got to form that police ring right away. You got to show, look, they do it in European soccer.
Yeah.
And for the most part, there's only very rare occasions where there's a true, what they call pitch invasion, because they're very serious about how they deal with it there and all like that. But even if you can buy the players a minute to get in the locker rooms, that's the key, because you need to limit the amount of people who can be injured by this thing.
Yeah.
And, it'd be nice if everyone just understood it and didn't rush the court and just sat there and cheered. But
it's also one of those.
We're talking about college kids, man.
Yeah, we're talking about college kids. We're talking about the one, especially if you feel like it's a once in a lifetime thing. Sure. And maybe for them, they felt, even though you're in the Big Ten, maybe for those fans, they felt like, it more than likely going to be the only time they played them at the house this year.
It's being a part of something.
Yeah.
A lot of the people who storm the field or storm the court have no idea what the heck they're doing. They don't even, for lack of a better term, some of the girls don't even know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But it's being a part of an environment, a fun environment.
Oh, man. If you find any time, I know you got Steve Barnes coming up next. Y'all are going to be talking some college football. Then you've got PCB Hobby with Todd Mueller, owner of PCB Hobby, Todd Mueller, for the PCB Hobby Takeover. Then at 5:40, talking Royal Rumble.
Yeah, we're going to have a few guests to come in and talk Royal Rumble.
There you go. If you want to kick hour number 2 off with Dunlap, Nick Dunlap, you're more than welcome.
That would be pretty cool, because that was awesome.
How awesome. First golfer to win first amateur golfer to win a PGA tournament since 1991, and Phil Mickelson. If you got any thoughts on that, give Brian a call, 850-215-6290. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 4. I've got basketball practice, then flag football. Just remember, Jesus loves you, and so do I.
ESPN Northwest Florida. It's the Coach James Hale Show.
She says, tell me that image isn't worth millions.
Hey, I was having a bad day. That was a bad day. I look bad.
Let me ask you something. After looking at this picture, what are you going to do about a face when the baboon wants his ass back?
Weekday morning, 7 to 9. ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Monday's weather. The remainder of the day, there will be a moderate breeze out of the east-southeast, mostly clouds and 62. Light sprinkles and clouds tonight, about the same at 55. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy in the morning, followed by moderate rain and a high of 65. About the same at 69 Wednesday, and we'll have moderate rain most of the day, except mostly clouds in the afternoon and evening. This forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Sports fans, we love our teams, but let's talk real estate for a moment. Meet Berg Title, your trusted local real estate title and escrow company. Based in downtown Panama City, Berg Title knows the community inside out. They handle everything from title searches to escrow services with expertise. Honest, reliable, and here to make your real estate journey smooth. Remember, it's Berg Title. Call them at 850-250-2900. That's Berg Title, your partner for a worry-free real estate experience in Panama City and Panama City Beach.
Your home for Auburn Tiger basketball. WGSX Lynn Haven. WVLQ Port St. Joe.
ESPN Northwest Florida, War Eagle.
Turf Pro Lawn and Pest Control. They take pride in caring for their customers' property by providing lawn and whole house pest control. Whether you have roaches or any other unwanted bugs in your home, Turf Pro has you covered. Or if your lawn needs weed control, fertilize, insect control, Turf Pro has you covered by providing custom treatments to meet your property's needs. No property is the same, so why should it be treated that way? Turf Pro, where the blue and yellow trucks make your lawn green. Call 850-890-5820.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Call in with your questions, hot takes, and rants at 850-215-6290.
I'm sure that most of you have used a dial telephone before.
The Sports Talk Monster.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
And welcome back to the Afternoon Underdogs. David Hayes is now Coach David Hayes. He has left the building to go out and get into the athletic world as it is. I am no longer an athlete, so I'm going to sit in the big chair here for the last hour. We got a great show here for you. We're going to talk up next with Steve Barnes from the rebelwalk.com. Then we've got the PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd coming up at 5:20. And then we're going to talk a little wrestling in the last segment here as we get ready for the Royal Rumble. But let's kick it off right now here, as we do on Mondays at 5 p.m., and talk to our good friend Steve Barnes of the rebelwalk.com. Steve, how you doing on this Monday?
Hey, Brian, what's up, big man?
Oh, nothing much. You know, they give me the big chair again. I don't know if they've booby-trapped it or something, but...
I think it's just me. Every time I'm on, you get the big boy chair. I think, you know... It's some kind of simpatico thing.
I'll tell you what.
Hey, man, got a little bit of breaking news for you.
Okay, let's go.
R.C. Slocum, the former Texas A&M head coach.
Yeah.
Just named the interim athletic director at Texas A&M.
How about that? I mean, obviously, you know, Mr. Texas A&M there. I mean, coached there forever. Obviously put together some wonderful seasons there. I guess he was the bridge. Didn't he take over after Jackie Sherrill left, if I'm not mistaken?
I think he was after Sherrill.
Yeah.
I think he was after Sherrill.
Yeah, and was there
that's a long time ago.
I know, and was there for many, many years, did a wonderful job there. So that's interesting. I had not seen that.
Well, I mean, they had to get somebody, Ross Bjork left to go north.
That's right.
And I really think that he knows some stuff's coming down in Aggie land, and he pulled Pete Carroll at Southern California. Let me get out of here before it falls.
Well, interesting about that because, I mean, obviously Ross Bjork was at Ole Miss. I remember him obviously having to deal with the Hugh Freeze situation, goes to A&M, everything that goes on there, and now heading up to Columbus to be the AD at Ohio State. Good move for Ohio State here based on, you know, your knowledge of Ross Bjork?
I think he's really good at his job.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not sure how he's going to get along with everybody.
Yeah.
But, you know, he's going to be the boss. And it's not the boss's job to get along with everybody. It helps, but and the other thing, at Ole Miss today, 3 guys from the portal showed up to visit.
Interesting.
One of them is B.J. Green, who was an edge rusher out of Arizona State.
Mm-hmm.
He had already committed to transfer to Washington until DeBoer left.
Right.
And he goes, well, I'm jumping back in the portal. Now, he's got 2 years of eligibility left.
Okay.
So, Princely and, like, you know, my old buddy David Kellum, who's the voice of the Rebels, I'm sure has got his phonetics, you know, chart out trying to get his last name correct. I'm not even going to try it.
Right.
Princely's there.
Yeah.
But this would add more depth to it. But the 2 that really got me, all right, University of Washington played for the national championship.
Yeah.
Their offensive line won the Joe Moore Award.
That's right.
As the best offensive line. Both offensive guards are in Oxford today.
Wow.
You got Julian Bulow, 6'9", 313
gracious.
as a guard. with a wingspan that's basically sideline to sideline. And Nate Calippo, who played right guard. No, he's a run. He's only 6'6", 327.
Yeah, just tiny.
But my favorite thing about him is, I mean, anybody watch that game, you saw Michigan's defense just killing Michael Penix.
Yeah.
Just killing that poor kid. Calippo, not only did he not give up a sack, he didn't give up quarterback pressure in the national championship game.
Wow.
Now, if Ole Miss gets on either one of those guys, they're starters first of day one. They're starting.
Yeah. And that was what I noticed watching Washington. And it's interesting because both of their guards and their center went into the portal. The center, I think, is headed to Alabama, if I'm not mistaken. The interior of that offensive line was very sound. Their tackles were where they were a bit suspect, and that seemed to be where they were getting to Penix a little bit more.
But I talked to a friend of mine out in Seattle today, and he's like, don't you think it's kind of odd that they didn't want to go to Alabama? They want to go to someplace that could beat Alabama out of the SEC title game.
Yeah.
I was like, well, if that's true, why don't they go to Georgia? They play.
It's true.
Ole Miss doesn't play Alabama this year.
That's right.
So, and Alabama, I'm sorry, I know a bunch of Tide fans, but when you're losing 5 transfers to Florida State, that's going to hurt you. Especially, I think the one's going to hurt the most is defensive back Earl Little Jr.
Yeah.
That guy is just a beast. And now there's not a direct way from Tuscaloosa to Tallahassee.
Right.
But I'm sure that Mike Norvell, if he could build a road, would go straight through Montgomery to get to Tuscaloosa. And it's like, guys, you can be here in 3 hours.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Obviously, there's a bit of an opportunity for Alabama coming out of spring ball when the next window opens. Obviously, with all these players moving, it may create some imbalance that the clubs are going to, and some people may want to move back to where Alabama has some openings. But the problem with that is you're not going to have your top guys at Ohio State, your top guys at Georgia, your top guys at Clemson, your top guys at Ole Miss leaving after spring football. You're going to have your third-string guys leaving. So Alabama can add a little more depth as to what they've got going right now, but they're not going to be replacing like for like.
Well, I saw something today online. Not sure how, I write online, so not sure how much you can trust it. Come on, it's me. But 2,200 kids went in the portal.
Yeah.
1,000 of them still don't have a spot to go to.
It's amazing. That does not get reported enough, though.
That is just not a smart move. But and I tell you what, it's something that Kiffin said before the Peach Bowl that just resonated with me. He just said, college football, we're the only sport that has free agency during the season.
It's unbelievable.
Think about this, and this is a thing he just, a great scenario. He said, just imagine if the NFL had it, and you could go free agent at the end of the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
Say you're a player for Detroit, and San Francisco calls you and says, tell your agent, whatever offer you get, that's the best, we're going to double it to get you next year. But by the way, we want you to opt out of the playoffs and not play against us.
I mean, it's essentially what's happening.
That could happen.
Yeah, and look, it's one thing now. We have yet to see, that I've noticed, we have yet to see a player opt out of a playoff game in college football. But as this thing goes to 12, and we've still got all these transfer movements and this, that, and the other, I mean, it's bound to happen. We're going to get an opt-out, or we're going to get a transfer from somebody who actually does see some, they may not be a starter, but somebody who definitely provides depth to your squad and sees playing time.
Let's just say you're Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I got a nagging injury, and now I have to play against them, to go play against them, to play against them.
That's it.
I'm not going to play in the first round. I'm just not going to do that.
Well, that's what I was going to say. We've added another game, and you're exactly right. That's definitely going to play in. Here's the thing, Steve. is you could somewhat solve it in the regards to, you could say, look, nobody can enter the portal until after the national championship game is played. I wish they would say no coaches can be announced until after the national championship game is played, and then move National Signing Day back to February. The reason that won't happen is these coaches want these kids on campus January 1st so they can be in the system, go through spring practice, get everything settled so they can be contributors day one in the fall. And
that's the thing about the three at Ole Miss. They're here. They're there now.
Right.
And I think they have a week to get into school. Or they can't be in spring practice.
Yeah.
So, that's the importance of it right now. But, I mean, the other thing is, and, I am kind of a numbers guy in sports. I think a lot, since we're going to expand the playoffs, I think a lot of the yearly records are going to start dropping like crazy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if a kid can play, 16 games in a season, he's going to beat the record if the guy can only play in 10.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, the only comparison I have was, remember Mark Lemke played second base for the Braves?
Yeah, I love Lemmer.
He has more postseason hits than Mickey Mantle.
Isn't that amazing?
But Mickey Mantle, they'd win the league and just go straight to the World Series.
That's right.
Lemke had the wild card, then he had the division, then he had the league, then he had the World Series. So he played a lot more. And I covered him. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'd mentioned it to him one day. He's going, you broke Mickey Mantle's record. He goes, no, I didn't. The system did.
What I'll never forget Lemmer for, 2 back-to-back World Series games, bang-bang plays at the plate. Jack Buck calling it both times. Phenomenal. Like, everyone remembers in 92 Francisco Cabrera coming in and that call.
Oh, yeah.
Lemmer did it twice the year before, and quite frankly, Steve, the greatest World Series I've ever seen. The 91 World Series with the Braves and the Twins is the best World Series I've ever seen.
Well, not maybe because Braves lost.
I know.
Okay.
But just great baseball.
But when I covered him, Lemmer, he blockered next to Jeff Blauser.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And you want to talk about a modern-day Abbott and Costello. They would have you in stitches.
Yeah.
Just talking about anything. And Blauser, I remember him for 3 things. One, he always had a case of Bud Light in his locker.
Okay.
He always had a carton of Marlboro Lights. And he had messed up his toe. And so his toenail would raise up. And he'd show it to anybody he thought he would gross out. And Lemmer would just go, would you stop doing that, please, man? Would you just please stop doing that?
That's
so, I mean,
funny.
that's the difference between, what's going to happen in 2024 and what happened in 1997. It's just you're gonna have these guys thinking, you know what?
Yeah.
I got a chance to play pro football.
That's right.
Do I really want to play in the first round against so-and-so?
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm an offensive tackle, I got to play against a guy who's like leading the league in sacks.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I might want to opt out of this one so I don't look so bad.
All right, Steve, I want to get into this. I'm equal parts happy as an Alabama fan and sad as a South Alabama fan because Kane Womack is going to be leaving South, where I thought he did an absolutely phenomenal job with the Jaguars, headed up to be the defensive coordinator for Coach DeBoer at Alabama. Obviously, great move, for Kane Womack to just raise his profile that much. I think he's a phenomenal defensive coach. I think it's a home run hire for DeBoer. But, what do you think about the move, generally speaking? I mean, obviously you're not going to be a head coach, but being the DC at Alabama might propel you just as far, and then come off of that into Major Applewhite taking over at South.
Well, I like Applewhite taking over. I think that was the perfect hire.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think it proves that, pretty much any Group of 5 job is a stepping stone job.
Yep.
So, I mean, you look at Troy, the last couple coaches they had. Neil Brown ends up at West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And now Summerall goes to Tulane. Now, I think that's kind of a lateral move, but with the CFP coming in the way it is, it's going to be a lot easier to win his conference than it is the Sun Belt.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt.
And even if you win the Sun Belt, I mean, you're going to have one or two losses, so you're not going to get the playoffs.
Right.
But you could win. But you could win the AAC and go undefeated. So I think you can get the playoffs a lot easier at Tulane than you could at Troy. So I don't blame him. And Neil loved him to death. He's the one that brought Troy back, basically. And he's from Kentucky, and West Virginia is only 4 hours from his mom and dad.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier for, he's got like 4 kids, and it's a lot easier for Grandma and Grandpa to drive to Morgantown than to Troy. So I could see that one too. Plus, he's in the Big 12.
Yeah.
So I just think that, anybody that takes a job, well, pretty much anywhere in, the Sun Belt, the AAC, something like that, you're doing it as an audition.
Yeah. Let's talk. We got to talk Ohio State if we're talking college football. What's gone on there in the last couple of weeks? Bill O'Brien, new offensive coordinator. We got Judkins heading up there. We've got Caleb Downs. We got Julian Sayin. Look, I know they've shelled out a lot of money in NIL, but they're not the only school that has money. What do you think it is? Is this like one of those cases where it's high school recruiting and the kids all talk to each other and say, we can put together just this dominant class? What is it that Ohio State has gotten right the last couple of weeks to at least, on paper, build a superstar roster?
Well, I think Judkins is going to look back and say this was kind of a mistake because Bill O'Brien's a quarterback guru.
That's right.
And, I mean, look, everywhere he's ever been, he has developed a great quarterback.
Right.
And they've got talent in Columbus. He's going to find one and develop them. So I think Judkins, instead of getting 20 carries a game, is going to get 12.
Yeah.
And, well, apparently that was one of the problems he had at Ole Miss was like, I'm not touching the ball enough. Well, it's going to be less up there. And, by the way, it's going to be, 20 degrees a lot of times.
Yeah.
But I think Bill O'Brien, I mentioned the Sun Belt and the AAC and Mountain West. They're kind of stepping stone jobs. I think he's interviewing basically for head coaching jobs that are going to come open.
Right.
Because he said, all right, look what I just did. And, somebody called me the other day saying, yeah, I think Saban retired because of NIL and the transfer portal. Well, I don't think that's the reason he did, but I think it added 20 hours a week to a 60-hour-a-week job.
Oh, yeah.
So I can see somebody like, golly, Mac Brown be the next one to say, yeah, I can't do this anymore. And I think you're going to see a lot of coaches retire at 50 instead of 70.
Yeah. No, I think that's true. Senior Bowl coming up, Steve. Obviously, I grew up with it in Mobile. It was a huge thing. Not restricted to seniors anymore. But how important is it, not just for the game? In fact, the game is probably the least important thing going on. But for these guys, especially guys from mid-majors, to get a week with NFL staff coaching them?
Well, the first thing when I was a kid, that was the game we always went to in Mobile. And this was, late 60s, early 70s, so I had to wear a suit like my dad did. And I remember seeing, golly, Lynn Swan play, Steve Bartkowski play, Ed Two-Toe Jones blocked a field goal, Steve Bartkowski. And this is back when they actually paid them.
Yeah. If
you won the game, you got $1,000. If you lost the game, you got $500. And if you're the MVP, you get a car. Because it was billed as the first professional football game.
That's right.
And I mean, now it's turned into the combine with contact.
Yep.
Because you go to Indianapolis and it's a skill set thing. How fast can you run the 40? How can you do the cone drill? Well, in the practices at the Senior Bowl, no, it's like that guy, this guy, get down there, let's go.
Yep.
So I haven't been to the Senior Bowl game. I can't remember the last one I went to, but I go to practice.
Yeah.
Because that's where you see everything.
That's right. Well, Steve,
and they need to change the name to, instead of the Senior Bowl, the eligible for NFL Draft Bowl.
We'll fit that
not
on.
Sure that fit on.
Yeah, fit it on
sure
T-shirt.
Fit on the front of the jersey.
Appreciate it, Steve. I may actually be over your way this Thursday. If I do, I'm going to holler at you. Lunch will be on me, buddy.
Where you going to be?
I've got some work to do in Pensacola Thursday morning, so if I get done early enough, we might be able to go do lunch.
Just give me a call. I'll be there.
We'll do it. That's Steve Barnes.
Have fun with the big boys here.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Steve Barnes, therebelwalk.com. Make sure you check that out. Always has great stuff on that site. When we come back, we're going to be taking your calls, your texts. For the man himself, it's the PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Dan Patrick Show. Now, I know you're simplifying that, but it's not as simple, because if you said Jim Harbaugh is going to coach Justin Herbert and the Chargers, or Bill Belichick was, I would take Jim Harbaugh. If you said the Dallas Cowboys, Jim Harbaugh or Bill Belichick, I'd say Bill Belichick.
It's the Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings from 9 till 11. ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Monday's weather. Tonight there will be a gentle breeze out of the east, a mixture of light sprinkles and clouds, and 55. Very light rain tomorrow morning, about the same at 63. In the afternoon and evening, sprinkling and a high of 65. About the same at 69 Wednesday, and we'll have a mixture of moderate rain and slight fog. This forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumberyard in Panama City. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
If you spend any time at all in your yard, you're going to encounter fire ants.
We know they can ruin a party. That's why we're this area's experts at fire ant elimination.
As your certified top choice professional, we will rid your yard of these unwanted invaders. Brock Pest is so sure they'll get rid of fire ants that they offer a 1-year guarantee.
Enjoy your yard fire ant free. We guarantee it. Give us a call for your free consultation.
Brock Lawn and Pest Control. Our family protecting yours since 1968.
Hot takes, the latest trades, in-depth interviews.
That is my reaction.
We break it down for you right here.
Very big springboard for the rest of my career.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
That's the problem right there.
4.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back. Afternoon Underdogs. Dave had to fly the coop, and questioning his judgment left me in the big chair. But you know what? That's all going to be okay, because the captain is back at the helm of the ship. Todd Mueller is leading our PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd. If you have any questions as it relates to sports cards or comics or TCGs or coin collecting, give us a call or text in to the show, 215-6290. That's 215-6290. Todd, how we doing today?
What's going on? It's Monday
yes,
again.
It is.
Thank God we made it through another week, and here we are.
Now, speaking of we brought somebody along with us today.
I brought a buddy. I brought a friend and a coworker. I brought Jimmy PCB. Jimmy works for us. He works at PCB Hobby, and we brought him along today. Has a little bit of radio experience, so I hear.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. And so we brought him along to have some fun with us and
awesome.
Talk hobby and all the things going on. Jimmy is more towards the comic book side of things. He's actually has some experience in that, and so that's really cool. Anyway, so we're here. We're ready to rock, and we got a lot to talk about again today, as we always do. One thing I want to put out there before we get into it is our PCBHobby.com calendar of events has been updated. I want everybody to understand that Lorcana is now on Wednesdays. Wednesdays, Pokemon and Lorcana are together. They don't, obviously you don't play both at the same time. They're different play formats. However, you will see Lorcana people there and Pokemon people there Wednesday nights. The calendar on the website should be updated.
Okay.
So go on there and make sure you let everybody know that you're on your way or you're coming on Wednesdays for that.
Well, and what's outstanding is you have so much space now to be able to do that, whereas beforehand, barely had space to do the one.
We do. Friday night, we had 26 people show up.
Phenomenal.
So it was phenomenal for Magic and gameplay. Again, you're welcome to show up anytime. We're open 10 to 6, and then, of course, later on Wednesday nights, Thursday nights, Friday nights, and Saturday nights. So you can come play with your buddies, your friends, whatever. It's not set in stone as to what can only happen that night. So come in, hang out with us. One of the things that we did, which is really cool, is we're now going to be streaming from the shop most of the coin streams.
Excellent.
So our Whatnot PCB Coins is going to be doing the shop stuff at the shop. Gives us access to more inventory and kind of some liveliness going on. Jimmy has actually helped a little bit with running the computer as well. So you may see him on with us a little bit, learning how to run Whatnot and things like that. So it's really cool. And speaking of, we were going to get into our PCB Tornado Charity.
Yeah.
Tornado Charity. So this past weekend on Saturday at noon, we kicked off our charity auction on Whatnot. We reached out previous that week. We reached out to tons of coin dealers, tons of people in the area, the news channels, everything. If you live under a rock and haven't seen the news in the last 3 days, then you probably haven't seen it. But if you haven't lived under the rock and you actually have watched the news, you probably saw our thing go on about our charity auction. So I'm happy to report that we raised $20,000
Wow.
to give to North Star Church, Bay County. And what that means is they have a division for Bay County, and it's for the Tornado Relief Fund. And what that is anybody who was affected by the tornado in Lower Grand Lagoon can call in, can text, chat, whatever you need to do, email North Star Church and say, hey, I need help. I need, my roof put back on. Any donation for that would be great. I need this. I need that. I'm without my house. I don't have any clothes. Anything and everything that you can think of, they can help you with. And so we urge you to reach out and contact them. And all 100% of the proceeds. Hear me now.
Yeah.
100%. That means I covered all the fees for the Whatnot stream. 100% of what was brought through that door is going straight to North Star Church, and 100% of that money is going straight to victims of the tornado.
Yeah.
So that's what we did this last week.
And it was just a wonderful event. We talked about it a little bit earlier where, people were rerunning items and, how the staff really stepped up and made it such a big deal. There's one thing I want to get to, though, that we talked about earlier is, unfortunately, with a lot of the weather that went on through, the Midwest into Tennessee, certainly, a lot of the donated items got stuck in shipping and did not arrive. Now, obviously, that stinks in that they couldn't be a part of the Saturday, but it's actually created an exciting avenue for people who maybe weren't able to be a part of Saturday's stream. And what is that?
Correct. So basically we're working it out, but either Wednesday or Thursday, we are going to run another Whatnot stream. And the remaining items that are coming in today, tomorrow, and Wednesday will be cataloged and put in the auction. And so we're going to do Series 2 auction. And so we're actually going to raise more money than the $20,000 because of all the stuff that's coming in. So we do want to give a big shout out to Keith Gillingham of North Star Church. He has been a huge part in the success of this and helping us distribute the funds that are going to go to the people in need. And then, of course, we do appreciate, I know I'm on the radio, but we appreciate Channel 7 and Channel 13.
Absolutely. I was going to highlight that. I know we had talked about it in the morning and Dave in the afternoon, but having it on the news certainly helped tremendously.
Right. And then, of course, on ESPN 104.3. So we appreciate you guys as well, letting us talk about it.
Well, outstanding. Well, let's get back into the world of collectibles here. Let's pivot over to sports, since we are a quasi-sport show, if you will.
Jimmy, did you watch any of the games?
Let's go.
Did you watch any of the games this weekend?
I don't have a TV.
You don't have a TV. That's true.
I'm just kidding. I watched some of them, but
Who did you watch?
I'm a Jet fan, so I'm still moping.
Still moping. Got it.
Mhm.
Got it. Who
Did you see my shirt?
Well, and
do I look
you're,
happy?
And you're a Florida State. He has a Florida State shirt on right now, so I'm sorry for him.
Yeah,
see,
you should be.
If you're watching us right now on Facebook or on YouTube, you'll see the transformation is in process. We still have the Yankees hat.
Yeah, we do.
But we do have the Florida State shirt, so we're in process of becoming a Floridian.
If you haven't figured it out, Jimmy is from New York, straight up New York. He's got the little attitude that goes with it, which I like. I'm not saying anything bad about it.
Boy, oh boy.
But what games did you watch this weekend?
Well, basically, I was paying attention to hating the Packers because I'm still mad about the whole Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to get 4 plays in, and then there goes my season.
Right.
So how am I supposed to root for Love? Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
You know,
I get it.
like, what are we going to be 3 for 3 over the last 30-plus years with quarterbacks?
get it.
Oh, look, we found another great one, and he'll be my quarterback when I'm 70.
Right,
That's
exactly.
great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Or he'll be 70, one of the two.
God.
So,
Probably the latter.
So you watched the 49ers at the end beat the Packers, so that's cool. I got to watch the end of that game as well, and I really enjoyed it. I'm glad to see San Francisco. I'm actually a West Coast guy. San Francisco is not my team, but I am a West Coast guy, so it's kind of neat to see that. Glad to see Baltimore win, too. I actually like Lamar Jackson. I think he's a really cool quarterback. I think he's fun, and I think he's energetic, and I think he really tries to live football. So I like him, too.
And I've got this for both of y'all, but I mean, honestly, if you're not a San Francisco fan, if you're not a Baltimore fan, if you're not a Kansas City fan, everybody in the country has to love the Lions story.
Detroit, that's what I was going to say. Detroit.
This is phenomenal.
Well, I can relate to the pain. being a Jet fan with the Lions, it's
Detroit,
very
I'm
similar.
telling you what, I love Detroit. I love what they stand for. Wish, in some weird world that Barry Sanders was still there.
Yeah, no kidding.
That couldn't happen. But my point is that I think they got a really good team, and I hope they go a long ways. I really do. I hope they get to the Super Bowl at least. That would be really cool for the fan base, and I think it will help. Look, there's a lot of good players on a lot of these teams, and I'm telling you, in the shop, people come in and look for their stuff.
That's it.
I mean, they look for those cards. They're looking for that type of stuff, and it's awesome when was it Amon St. Brown? Is that how it's said?
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's a good player. We just got one of his autograph rookies in. Stuff like that. It's just so neat. And so if you're following those guys, Jordan Love, we sold a Jordan Love the other day. Of course, they lost, but still, Jordan Love did a decent job.
He did a great job.
He did a great job. So in the end, of course, we got Brock Purdy's and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, and to that point, obviously, cards kind of rise and fall with the teams prevails in the playoffs. So, I would expect Lamar Jackson stuff taking off right now.
The only thing I hated to see was I like Patrick Mahomes, but in the end, Josh Allen needed to be there. I mean, he just needs to be there, in my opinion.
Well, the last thing you want as a Buffalo Bills fan is some guy kicking the ball with the game either on the line or close to the line.
Isn't that the truth?
I know.
They call him Scott Norwide to this day, which is just not fair when you think about it. It had the distance.
Right.
Oh, my
goodness.
goodness.
It's true. It's true.
But look, what's amazing, too, I mean, you got your Yankees hat on. It's got me thinking we are not that far away from the 4 greatest words in baseball. Pitchers and catchers report. I love to hear it because it means spring is coming.
Spring training's in March, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it starts in March.
They'll be in camp.
Yeah, you guys remember, January's almost over.
Yeah,
January's almost over.
Absolutely, and we got some baseball products in, but before we do that, we've got to get to the phone lines. We've got one of our famous callers in, wants to talk about cards. Go on ahead, sir.
Go Boots, Craig City, Ayers River, Anthony's back to bite some kneecaps, Tiger Town, baby. Hey, speaking about cards, so I was in there, I got some cards, they're going up in price, man. Blake Corum, J.J. McCarthy. I went in the shop this weekend to get some cards graded, and I actually bought a J.J. McCarthy rare that I think PJ busted out, broke out of a box.
Yeah.
And
PJ.
You got that. It's a Bowman. Is it PJ or JP?
PJ.
I
PJ.
forgot. I'm tired.
Yeah, it's PJ.
I'm tired. The hockey player from St. Louis.
There you go.
Anyway, anyway, I mean, they're going up in prices. Like you were saying, Captain Todd, my captain. Dude, Aiden Hutchinson cards are going crazy. I bought my first Amon-Ra St. Brown autographed jersey patch from your shop when you guys first opened up a couple years ago.
Yes.
I mean, they're already going up in price. It's only been, I bought some a week ago. They're already going up.
Yeah.
Here's what you want to do to your portfolio. You want to get real estate, stocks, precious metals, and sports memorabilia. Because sports memorabilia is going through the roof right now.
Yeah.
Through the roof.
Everybody wants a piece of the game, Eddie. Not everyone can play, but this is kind of your connection to the game.
True statement.
And it's a ton of fun. Has been forever. You're right.
And we actually did get a couple things in as of late. We actually ended up getting another autographed Mickey Mantle ball with COA. So it's interesting. We got the ball back, and it didn't have a sticker on it from PSA. So I was reading the certificate, and I was like, "Why is there not a sticker? There's a sticker on the COA on the paper, and it's got the serial number. But why is it not on the ball? I've always seen them on the ball." So I read the paper closer. They now laser etch the serial number on the ball. So
That's
you have to have a
phenomenal.
special black light to look at it, but it'll show the serial number. So that's how they authenticate that it's a real ball now. So anyways, we have a Mickey Mantle signed
cool.
autographed ball in the shop if anybody's interested. We got a nice piece of high-end inventory that's really cool. So we've seen a lot of cool stuff. Last week we sold hockey, Wayne Gretzky. We had a Wayne Gretzky autographed jersey. Gone.
That's
Bye.
right.
So Michigan Eddie's not wrong. Memorabilia is doing fairly well right now.
All right, Eddie. So here's the thing. So Michigan wins the national championship. Red Wings starting to look good again. The Lions winning playoff games left and right. We're not going to talk about the Pistons. Is this the Tigers' year, Eddie?
So, by the way, the Red Wings 6 in a row. By the way,
That's
just
right.
saying.
I told you.
And we're getting Patrick Kane back at the end of the month, hopefully, to his lower body injury. Just saying. The way the Tigers finished out the last half of last season was phenomenal for what they were predicted to do. So I think the Tigers are going to improve and make a run at the wild card. You never know in baseball, right?
That's right.
So with A.J. Hinch as our skipper, we got a great pitching staff. We got Spencer Torkelson. You got a whole bunch of young bucks in there.
Yeah,
So
Riley Green.
we're Riley Green out of Florida, and he played actually, I believe, down south in Orlando, Tampa area. It was one of Eddie's rival travel ball clubs. So anyway, it's looking good for the Tigers, man. I tell you, Detroit's the best sports city in the country, man. Fight some kneecaps. Let's go Red Wings, man. And the Pistons, they still peck out LCA, and we're terrible. You know what I mean? We are loyal to a fault, man.
That is true.
And that's why Ford Field was rocking. And Aiden Hutchinson, born and raised, went to Dearborn Divine Child. His dad played at Michigan. He played at Michigan. Now he's a hometown kid. He resurrected Michigan's program. He's helping resurrect the Lions. And you see him just stand there to soak it in the last two playoff games at Ford Field.
Yeah, that was
That's
phenomenal.
what it means, man.
That's right.
That's what it means, man, to us fans. And now I've seen 3 playoff wins in my 48 years of existence. 2 happen this year.
Yep.
I'm hoping to see a Super Bowl win.
That would be
I hope so.
something.
I hope so too, Eddie. I really hope that the Lions make it there. I think that would be a great story, and it'd be good for the city.
I think they're the nation's darlings right now.
I think so.
They are. And Eddie, I was going to say you're a great man for a number of reasons. We're all behind your Lions right now, unless we live in one of those other 3 cities. And I'm even convinced some of them are kind of back in the blue here as it was. But Eddie, I got to get back to Todd here on a couple things and then hit a break. But give me your outro, buddy.
Go Blue, Truck Series, Urban Authorities back to it just means more in Detroit, not the SEC. Big Ten, baby, I'm out.
See you later, Eddie. Thanks.
Woo! There's Michigan Eddie. That was great. Real quick, yeah, exactly. Well, we're going to talk some wrestling here in the next segment, but real quick, Todd, we were kind of pivoting into baseball, and we've got some new products in the shop here.
Right, yeah. I'm pretty sure that we got Bowman's Best in today, Bowman's Best Baseball.
That's correct.
So that's live and available. It is hot, hot, hot. If you haven't picked any up yet, you need to come on and get some. We also have, I believe you said Stadium Club is coming in. It will be released on Wednesday.
On Wednesday.
On Wednesday.
if you like really fantastic photography and just gorgeous looking cards, Stadium Club has been that way for 30 years.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, Stadium Club's a great product. So come check that out on Wednesday. We got a lot of streams going on. Again, Wednesday or Thursday, we're going to have a remaining stream for our PCB Tornado Fund. Yeah. So that's going to be great. And we got a lot of new inventory in the shop. We did get the coin side set up completely. Yeah. So the coin side is set up completely. So come on in, buy, sell, trade. Let's do it with all that type of stuff. And then finally, there was something else I was going to say. I will be going to MegaCon. MegaCon is, I believe, next weekend. Or the week, we're going down January 31st, so maybe it's a week and a half, 2 weeks from now. Anyways, MegaCon is the comic convention in Orlando, Florida. We will be there. We'll be picking up all kinds of stuff. Anybody needs anything, wants anything, or wants to talk comics, come on through the door because we are here.
Man, that is fantastic. A lot of stuff going on at PCB Hobby. Don't forget Part 2, where you can help all those who were affected by the tornado going on. That's Wednesday, what time?
Wednesday, it should be Wednesday at 4, I believe. I'll have to double check that, but it'll be Wednesday afternoon for sure. Yeah. We'll be starting, and if you see it move, it'll just move to Thursday afternoon. Again, because we're still waiting for inventory to come in because of the storms.
Well, and even if you don't, go on the Whatnot app, or you don't want to participate, but you just want to help out, then know we've been taking donations in the shop.
Absolutely. Donations in the shop. You can come through the shop. You can even use your credit card. We can run your credit card if you want to just donate that way. You can bring cash. You can bring coins, any types of coins or coin sets, anything that we can sell coin related. We cannot accept anything other than coin related stuff, just to be clear. So I'm sorry about that for anybody who's donated or wants to donate something other than coins. They're not set up to deal with anything but basically a cash or a check to North Star Church, number one, and number two, that's the only thing we're selling on our feed is coins. So there you go.
All right, sounds good. That was the PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd and Jimmy PCB. You can get out and check those guys out right there at 11939 Back Beach Road. It's right next to Florida Linen, right off Highway 98, and get in there and check some things out. Maybe go on Whatnot and grab you a coin. It goes to a great cause. When we come back, we're going to pivot over and we're going to talk some wrestling. We got the Royal Rumble coming up, and might have one of Jimmy's friends coming in the studio coming up next. I don't know. You have to stick around and check that out. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Set your alarm clock to wake up with the Coach Hales Show on ESPN Northwest Florida. In-depth local and college sports from expert insiders and a dash of controversy.
Can be deadly.
Weekday mornings 7 to 9.
Nothing says good morning like a drunken human alarm clock.
We're live from the J. Michaels studio.
We all know he loves the Florida Gators, but that's okay.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
I can control the world.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Monday's weather. Tonight there will be a gentle breeze out of the east, a mixture of light sprinkles and clouds, and 55. Very light rain tomorrow morning, about the same at 63. In the afternoon and evening, sprinkling and a high of 65. About the same at 69 Wednesday, and we'll have a mixture of moderate rain and slight fog. This forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumberyard in Panama City. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
With over 65 years of combined experience, Instant Replay Sports Cards is happy to help you take your collection to the next level. They carry all the new hobby boxes, signed memorabilia, and supplies. New and vintage cards and Pokemon. They sell and trade cards and are always looking to buy. They're an authorized source for Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, and Leaf cards. Instant Replay Sports Cards is open 7 days a week at 752 West 23rd Street, down from Academy Sports. It can always be reached at instantReplaySportsCards.com.
Are you tired of hearing 2 weeks when you call to get your boat worked on? Hey folks, it's Chris Kramer with Kramer Marine and Outdoor, and we'll get you in and back out on the water as quick as possible. We're a full-line Yamaha outboard dealer and Suzuki outboard dealer, and we have master-trained certified mechanics on site. So if it's just an annual service, electronics install, trolling motor install, or all the way up to a full repower, we can take care of you. So stop by and see us in the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd next to Bill Kramer GM, or call us at 850-851-0453. history.
We don't always play in college bowl games. But when we do, we lose by 60.
Stay thirsty, my friends.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Hashtag FSU. ESPN Northwest Florida.
And welcome back to the Afternoon Underdogs. I have been looking forward to this segment for weeks because it means it's Royal Rumble week. And I have been joined in the studio. PCB Jimmy had to leave, but he invited in a friend of his who is no stranger to the wrestling community. I have in front of me none other than the Pharaoh himself. How we doing today, Pharaoh?
I look just like the guy who just left. What are you talking about?
I mean, you took his shirt. Hey, this is wrestling. We got to be in gimmick here.
Yeah, for sure.
But the main reason I wanted to get this done is because there's a wonderful wrestling show that's out there. They're on Cablevision, Facebook, YouTube's where I've got to see them. Monty and the Pharaoh.
Yes, sir.
And these guys do a wonderful, wonderful job talking about wrestling, and they have great guests on and stuff like that. We're fortunate to have one of them in our area. The other, we are fortunate to have on the line. Monty, are you with us on the phones?
I'm here. Hello, Jimmy. How are you, buddy?
Hey,
good to hear from you again.
What's up, stranger? This is one way to get back on the air together, huh?
You ain't kidding. It's been a bit. It's been a bit. Thanks, guys, for having me on. I really do appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. Love watching the show. I've gotten to catch up after meeting Jimmy on YouTube. It's been a riot. You guys have a lot of fun. You really talk great in-depth stuff. So I wanted to start with that. Tell me, Monty, how did the show kind of get started, come about? You guys just lifelong fans?
Jimmy and I met in junior high. I'll give you the long and short of it. Jimmy was a very big wrestling fan, and I grew up being told that wrestling was childish and weird. And so when I met Jimmy, the first thing I thought is, man, Jimmy is weird. He watches wrestling.
I'm still weird.
Long story short, Jimmy... Well, yeah, so am I. But anyway, long story short, Jimmy introduces me to wrestling, and boy, we're making audio tapes on those old recorders, and we're beating the hell out of each other, and before you know it, a lifelong friendship built on wrestling, but then became much more than that. Yeah. And we started this show as S&G, and it ended up just getting very popular, obviously to my partner, who certainly is a true legend now in the wrestling world, Mr. Jimmy Farrow. And, we're just blessed to have the show that we when we look over it, we're one of the top shows out there. Right. You've got all these famous wrestlers with this huge backing, but Monty and Farrow, everybody knows who we are, and we're right on everybody's heels.
Absolutely love it. And your show, like I said, it's an absolute riot. I wouldn't say play it at full volume, maybe at work, but you guys really do a wonderful job.
Good advice.
Just wanted to get that out
Good
there
advice.
for anyone going in. But no, they will absolutely love it, especially if they love wrestling the way that we do. So this is one of my favorite weeks out of the year. It really signifies kind of the road leading to WrestleMania, but in and of itself, the Royal Rumble now is about 35 years old or so. I think the first one was in 1988. Yep. I'm going to go to you first, Pharaoh. I'm going to stay in gimmick here.
You do that.
We'll do
Thank
that.
you.
And then
Appreciate
Monty, I want you to chime in as well. What is it about the Royal Rumble that has become so special to where some people consider it on par maybe with a WrestleMania?
Well, actually, it's my favorite event on the calendar. I enjoy it more than WrestleMania. The reason why is that when Pat Patterson came up, and rest his soul, when Pat Patterson came up with the idea, the thing that makes the Royal Rumble work so great is the pace.
Yeah.
You don't have a chance to be bored.
Yeah.
You have 90 seconds to 2 minutes, depending on Vince McMahon's mood or whatever Paul's feeling this year. And, you get into it, and there's constantly something going on. The pace is fantastic. The drama, if it's written the right way, is usually a 10 out of 10. I mean, sometimes even when they blow it, we talk about the ones they blow for years and years and years.
That's right.
If the fans didn't get what they wanted. There's just something about it, and there always has been. It's just an amazing pace to a match.
What about you, Monty?
I'll add on that the one thing about the Royal Rumble, it's pro wrestling Super Bowl for gamblers, right? You can bet on what number is going to win, and you could make boxes, and it's just, even for the non-wrestling fan, the Royal Rumble is a treat, right? Because, it's there for everybody. You watch guys come in. You don't know who's coming in. Like I said, you can bet on it, and you can just have a family fun day like a Super Bowl.
How did I know you were going to get gambling involved in the middle of this, Mike? How did I know? Unbelievable.
Well, you and me gonna have to bet on this year, bro. Last year we were watching it together. This year we're gonna have to put a little bet down.
You should have listened to me about Nakamura a few years back. You'd be driving a Porsche.
Well, look, let's pivot off of that because, look, the one, it's not even a criticism, but the one thing I would say is since they have gone to the stipulation that the winner of the Royal Rumble kind of gets the title shot and gets to headline WrestleMania, since they've gone to that, I wouldn't say it's been entirely predictable because some years it's been wide open, but there are some years where you can kind of see what's going to happen. I mean, I think everybody knew Cody Rhodes was winning a year ago. So this year is interesting because we got quite a curveball in Chicago back in November and CM Punk coming back to the WWE, specifically on the men's side. But this Rumble this year seems a little more wide open maybe than I remember the last year. So who do we like? Who should we be looking at as possibly winning the Royal Rumble?
Well, here's the good news. As long as they do it right, write it correctly, we win either way.
That's
because
true.
I've always felt that, and Mike will agree with this, I'm sure, when you know sometimes in advance what should happen, and it happens, if it makes sense, the fan is all for it.
Yeah.
If it makes sense. This year, as long as they don't spit the bit, I think we're going to win one way or the other.
Yeah.
It really comes down to making the right choice, and there are several right choices this year.
Yeah. Monty, you want to pick up on that?
Well said, Jimmy. Am I allowed to give some spoilers on this show?
Let's
Can I
go.
give a Monty spoiler?
Would you talk to Heyman?
Here we go.
Go for it.
No, I didn't talk to Heyman, but Jimmy, last year during the Royal Rumble, guys, all I said during the whole Royal Rumble was, "Here comes the Rock, here comes the Rock," and then the end, Jimmy was just torture.
It was like, shut up already.
Right?
It was great.
This year comes the Rock. So give it to you guys in the short term.
Okay.
Tonight, Seth Rollins says he's not giving up the title, right? Priest comes in, cashes in, wins the belt tonight. McIntyre is already slated to wrestle Damian Priest, wins the belt at the end of Raw tonight. CM Punk and Damian Priest at the Royal Rumble. I'm sorry, at Hell in a Cell, I apologize. And The Rock wins the Rumble, leaving Cody out in the cold, and somehow he'll get in a feud with our man Randy Orton.
You just don't like Cody.
We're never finishing this story, are we, Monty?
No. He thinks this way.
We may finish the story at SummerSlam, but my man Roman Reigns still will be the second greatest world heavyweight champion of all time as he destroys The Rock at WrestleMania.
Okay.
But yes, the story does not end for our man Cody Rhodes until next year.
Okay, I like it. Well, it's certainly going to be interesting. I like I said, last year, and last year was kind of that way, but they did a smart thing. They didn't end with a Rumble that was predictable. Last year, they had a huge storyline going on with the Bloodline. And this is when we first started talking wrestling on this show, was Sami Zayn turning on Roman Reigns, hitting him with the chair, and sending the crowd into oblivion. So let's say outside of the Royal Rumble match itself, what is maybe a surprise or something we may see in one of the other matches or something that might have people talking outside of just the match itself?
Well, I think that Mike has already named the surprise.
Yeah.
I tend to agree with Mike. Look, Roman Reigns said, should I sit at the head of the table? Well, there's only one way to do that, and that's win the Royal Rumble.
That's right.
Roman's certainly not going to hand him a match. Okay, why not? I think I'll wrestle you, Rock. He's clearly made it on his on-air characters, made it clear. I don't think so.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it makes sense to me that The Rock, but nobody's talking about that. Everybody's talking about Rhodes or Punk. Which one's it going to be? This whole Rollins injury throws everything up in the air right now. So
that's true.
To be determined, and that's the best part of this Rumble. Nothing predictable going on here.
You know, the other beauty of the Royal Rumble itself hasn't just been the matches, the winners, but the surprises, the long-forgotten stars that come back out of nowhere, the people elevated from NXT.
Sure.
Just the surprises.
Right.
And look, people have long said WWE is a show about entrance musics with wrestling thrown in between it.
Wow.
And it is a big deal to get that pop from the fans. I'll start with Monty on this. Who might be someone you could say might be one of the surprises we're looking to see, men's or women's?
Well, I was about to say, we're forgetting my favorite part of the show, the women, and there's no doubt in my mind Jade Cargill makes her debut in the Royal Rumble and wins it. So that's the surprise that gets everybody crazy before the ending, with The Rock finishing up face-to-face with Roman Reigns going into end of show. So, yes, Jade Cargill's my surprise.
Outstanding.
Boy, it's tough,
Jimmy?
It's tough, man, as far as surprises goes. I think we've been talking about this over at PCB. I mean, who's left?
Yeah.
Who's left, especially on the guy's side for sure? Who's left that's going to show up out of nowhere? Jericho's not showing up in a thong and a new diet. I mean, so...
thanks for that visual, by the way.
Well, you told me to keep it clean. I did the best I could. I mean, then you got Moxley. No, Moxley's never going to go anywhere. He's thrilled getting underpaid and getting overworked and hurt.
That's right.
So I really don't know who on earth... Don't tell me Goldberg, because I'm turning it off.
No, I don't think so. If I had to throw one out there, and look, it wouldn't break the internet, but I think the fans would really enjoy this, because this is someone who was involved in the pivot from the Divas era. We still had to go through the Bellas a little bit afterwards, but into what we have now, which is some really talented female athletes.
Sure.
I think a return for AJ Lee would be off the chart.
That'd be great.
And look, this isn't a full match.
Even if it's a one-off,
She's had injury issues and all. There are ways to go over the top and not hurt her. I think this would be the perfect time to bring her back.
Absolutely, and she get a huge pop, too.
Absolutely.
That would work.
Yeah, no doubt.
That would work.
Anything else we expect here, guys? I mean, Monty just gave us spoilers clean through to Mania.
Oh, he loves to do
phenomenal.
that. And I'm actually grateful I'm not watching it in person with him this year, because he'll be reminding me over and over, here comes The Rock, here comes The Rock. I was like, would you stop it? Oh, my God. So now we're straight of it.
All right, let me do a quick pivot here. We've got a couple of minutes left.
Sure.
One storyline, obviously, it's got swallowed up by everything else that's going on, is Logan Paul, social media, icon,
who we both love on Monty and the Pharaoh.
He's a natural to this business.
Logan Paul. He is.
He's the United States champion, going to be facing off against Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
I think we all expect Logan Paul to get through this and to have a match at Mania.
We do.
But what do we expect to happen after this? Do we expect a LA Knight Logan Paul matchup maybe for Mania? Do they finally give LA Knight the belt?
I don't think that LA Knight is going to get... Listen, if Cody Rhodes has had to wait this long already, I don't feel that LA Knight's in Cody Rhodes' stratosphere, even though he's super over.
Yeah.
There's just something about him when I look at him and I go, nope, not yet. Nope, not yet. And I don't see it happening anytime soon.
Yeah.
I don't. Mike?
I'm going to go with Sami Zayn. I'm thinking Sami Zayn will be the next opponent for Paul. I'm kind of hoping that number 30 in the Men's Royal Rumble will be a new Jets head coach, though, Jimmy. What do you think? If he wins the Rumble, he gets
wait
to
a
coach
minute.
the team, and maybe we can go further.
Now, hold on a second.
Is that a reward or a punishment?
What we should be rooting for is that our lousy current head coach is in the Rumble and Kane makes a return to take care of him.
There we go. I love that.
I'll go with that.
Yeah.
I'll go with that. And the offensive coordinator, too, Jimmy.
Dude, throw in the owner and the GM, too. Go for broke.
Oh, my God.
And how about Zach Wilson? Let's throw him in there.
Well, I heard that he's the timekeeper at the bell.
30 Jets in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
That would be the most unity they've shown in a long time.
And Aaron Rodgers will pull his Achilles on the run down to the ring.
Well, he's doing color commentary.
Well, there we go. Guys,
that's right.
This has been a thrill for me. Monty, great talking with you. Jimmy, I get to see every day. I bust his chops, so feel good about that.
Absolutely.
But again, guys, make sure you check out Monty and the Pharaoh, Cablevision, and certainly on Facebook. Got a great following on Facebook and YouTube.
Live on YouTube, Thursday nights, 9 p.m.
There you go. Perfect. Monty, thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks again, Guy. Jimmy, I love you. I'll talk to you soon.
Love you too, brother.
Peace. We got to get together and do this again. Maybe after the Rumble, we'll bring it back.
Absolutely.
And see how we did. See how if Monty was clairvoyant.
I would like that. That would mean that The Rock got it done.
Oh, fantastic. Guys, enjoy the Rumble this week. Dave will be back tomorrow. Coach James Hale in the morning. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.
Take ESPN Northwest Florida with you everywhere you go.
Anytime, anyplace, anywhere.
The sports talk and live play-by-play doesn't have to end when you get out of the car. The ESPN Northwest Florida app streams your favorite sports talk hosts and the biggest games in ultra-high fidelity.
This is of utmost importance in travel.
Take the sports talk monster with you anywhere you go. Available for Android and iPhone.
Use it anywhere or any place.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Monday's weather. Tonight there will be a gentle breeze out of the east, a mixture of light sprinkles and clouds, and 55. Very light rain tomorrow morning, about the same at 63. In the afternoon and evening, sprinkling and a high of 65. About the same at 69 Wednesday, and we'll have a mixture of moderate rain and slight fog. This forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumberyard in Panama City. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Come on down and get in on all the Senior Bowl excitement Saturday, February 3rd. From tailgating to game day and epic Mardi Gras parades. Enjoy an action-packed Saturday leading up to a free live concert by Counting Crows at Mardi Gras Park, downtown Mobile at 8 p.m. Get your tickets for the 75th Senior Bowl today at seniorbowl.com. The draft starts in Mobile.
Kitchen Designs in Panama City Beach and Santa Rosa Beach want to help you make your dream kitchen a reality in 2024. Family owned and operated for over 20 years, they offer cabinets